He was one of the most trusted men in his lord's entire inner circle. He led 13,000 soldiers to burn that same lord alive inside a temple. This is the story of the general history still can't fully explain. Welcome to the Judas Archives. Close the door behind you. Settle in. Some stories are better heard in the quiet. We are taught that betrayal comes from the outsider, the rival, the enemy who never truly belonged in the first place. But history's coldest lesson is this. Sometimes the deepest betrayal comes from the one person your entire inner circle considers completely beyond suspicion. Tonight, we step into 16th century Japan during one of the bloodiest periods of civil war the country ever endured. To dissect the anatomy of one of its most devastating and still unexplained betrayals, the fall of Oda Nobunaga, at the hands of the general he trusted most. Nobunaga was one of Japan's most powerful warlords, on the verge of unifying the entire fractured country under his own rule. At his side stood Akechi Mitsuhide, a brilliant administrator and battlefield commander who had risen quickly through skill rather than decades of ordinary service. Mitsuhide became the first of Nobunaga's generals ever awarded his own castle, built on the shores of Lake Biwa. Later, he received a second. Popular legend claims Nobunaga tormented and humiliated Mitsuhide for years. Historical evidence tells a very different story. Of all the men in Nobunaga's inner circle, Mitsuhide was among the most trusted of all. Mitsuhide led some of Nobunaga's most difficult campaigns personally, subduing the rebellious Tanba province through years of grinding, methodical warfare. It was during one of these campaigns that a decision would be made, one that some historians believe planted the first seed of everything that followed. According to one widely cited account, Mitsuhide once sent his own mother as a hostage, a personal guarantee to convince a defeated enemy lord to surrender peacefully. Nobunaga executed that enemy anyway. In retaliation, the enemy's own forces are said to have killed Mitsuhide's mother. Whether this specific story is entirely accurate remains debated, but it endures as one of the leading theories behind everything that came next. By 1582, Nobunaga had grown increasingly severe with underperforming retainers. Two of his most senior generals had already been stripped of their lands and exiled entirely for perceived failures. Mitsuhide, now in his 50s, watched these punishments with an unease that some historians believe was quietly building into genuine fear for his own future. Rumors reached Mitsuhide that his current territories might soon be reassigned elsewhere, possibly to lands not yet even conquered. For a man in his 50s who had already built his life around two hard-won castles, the prospect of starting over from nothing carried a very real weight. Some historians point to a young page named Mori Ranmaru, deeply favored by Nobunaga and widely trusted with sensitive responsibilities. A rumor circulated that Mitsuhide's own territories might one day pass to this young favorite instead. Whether true or not, the rumor alone was enough to unsettle a man already anxious about his place. In June of 1582, Nobunaga ordered Mitsuhide to lead his forces west to reinforce another general's siege against a rival clan. It was, on its surface, an entirely ordinary military command. Mitsuhide accepted it exactly as any loyal general would. Mitsuhide gathered an army of 13,000 men, ostensibly to march west and join the ongoing campaign. His own soldiers had no reason to suspect anything unusual. They owed their loyalty to the Oda clan itself, and would follow wherever their commander led them without question. As his army crossed the Katsura River, Mitsuhide gave the order that would change Japanese history forever. Instead of continuing west toward the siege he had been ordered to reinforce, he turned his entire force back toward the capital, toward Kyoto, where his lord Nobunaga was resting with only a small personal guard. A famous line is often attributed to Mitsuhide at this exact moment. "The enemy awaits at Honnoji." Historians widely believe this dramatic quote was invented decades later, appearing first in texts written long after anyone who was actually present had died. Whatever he truly said, the decision itself was now irreversible. Nobunaga was staying at Honnoji Temple in Kyoto, resting before his own planned campaign further west, believing himself completely secure in the heart of his own territory. He had brought only a small handful of personal attendants. He had no reason on earth to expect an attack from within his own army. By dawn, 13,000 of Mitsuhide's soldiers had completely surrounded the temple, vastly outnumbering the handful of men inside. A second detachment moved simultaneously toward a nearby temple, where Nobunaga's own son and heir, Nobutada, was staying with his own small guard. The attack began without warning. Nobunaga's small guard, hopelessly outnumbered, fought desperately to hold the gates. Within minutes, it became clear this was not a raid by rival forces, but his own general's army, turned entirely against him. Nobunaga fought briefly himself, first with a bow, then with a spear, alongside his loyal young page Mori Ranmaru. But the temple was already surrounded on every side, and Nobunaga soon understood there would be no escape from this particular morning. Someone, possibly on Nobunaga's own order, set the temple ablaze, whether to deny his attackers the satisfaction of his body, or simply because the fighting had already reached the building's wooden walls. The flames spread quickly through the ancient structure. The temple that had stood in Kyoto for generations burned to the ground within hours, taking with it the man who had spent decades working to unify an entire fractured country. Mitsuhide himself, by some accounts, was not even present at the temple during its final moments, directing the operation from a distance instead. Realizing there was no path to survival, Nobunaga retreated into an inner chamber of the burning temple. There, according to tradition, he took his own life, choosing to die by his own hand rather than be captured by the general he had trusted with everything. Mori Ranmaru, his young page, followed his lord into death moments later, a final act of loyalty that Japanese chroniclers would honor for centuries afterward. The most powerful warlord in Japan, on the verge of unifying an entire nation, was gone, ended not by a rival army, but by his own most trusted general. Mitsuhide moved quickly to seize control of Nobunaga's territories and authority, entering the magnificent Azuchi Castle and sending messengers across the region, attempting to secure recognition and support from other powerful lords. He appealed to the imperial court itself for legitimacy, hoping recognition from Japan's ancient throne would help secure his sudden and violent claim to power. Many of the region's other powerful lords, watching cautiously from a distance, withheld their support entirely. Nobunaga's own son and designated heir, Nobutada, was killed the very same day at a nearby castle, eliminating in a single morning both the reigning warlord and the successor meant to carry his unification forward. Far to the west, another of Nobunaga's generals, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, received word of his lord's death while in the middle of his own military campaign. Mitsuhide had gambled that Hideyoshi would remain occupied there for weeks. That gamble, it turned out, was catastrophically wrong. Hideyoshi negotiated an unexpectedly swift peace with the rival clan he had been fighting, and turned his entire army back toward Kyoto at a punishing pace. What Mitsuhide believed would buy him weeks of preparation, Hideyoshi accomplished in a matter of days. With his window for consolidating power closing rapidly, Mitsuhide gathered what forces he could and marched out to meet Hideyoshi's returning army. 13 days after the fires at Honnoji, the two armies would finally meet at a place called Yamazaki. The Battle of Yamazaki lasted barely 2 hours. Hideyoshi's forces, significantly larger and freshly reinforced, overwhelmed Mitsuhide's army almost completely. The general, who had ended Japan's most powerful warlord in a single morning, watched his own 13-day rule collapse in an afternoon. Mitsuhide fled the battlefield with a small remaining escort, attempting to reach the safety of his own castle at Sakamoto. He would never arrive. According to a popular but not fully verified account, Mitsuhide was killed passing through a small village, struck down not by a rival samurai, but by a local villager hiding in a bamboo grove, less than a month after ending the life of Japan's most powerful warlord. His own ended in near anonymity. Word of his death reached his own castle at Sakamoto shortly after. According to tradition, his most loyal retainer wrote a final poem in his own blood before ending his life, and the castle's remaining defenders set the fortress ablaze, choosing death alongside their fallen lord's household rather than surrender. Toyotomi Hideyoshi, avenging his lord within weeks, used the momentum of that swift victory to become the next great unifier of Japan, eventually succeeding where Nobunaga's own life had been cut short. Mitsuhide's betrayal had not stopped the unification of the country. It had only delayed it and handed the honor to someone else entirely. More than 4 centuries later, historians still debate Mitsuhide's true motive: fear of being discarded, grief over a broken promise, personal ambition, loyalty to a threatened imperial court. Even letters discovered centuries later suggesting he was secretly protecting a personal ally, whose homeland Nobunaga was about to invade. Every theory has its defenders, and none has ever been definitively proven. The man remembered as one of history's greatest traitors never once explained himself. If you are sitting in the quiet tonight, having trusted someone with everything, only to watch them turn against the very thing you built together, remember this: the mind can always find a reason to burn down what it once protected. The heart never forgets trusting someone completely, right up until the flames. Thank you for spending another night in the archives. If this story brought you comfort, leave a broken heart emoji below, and subscribe to join our quiet community. Another file has just been sealed away again. See you next time. You are not alone. Goodbye.